Imagine a prison with no walls, no iron bars, and no armed guards. The doors are wide open. The sun is shining outside. You can walk away right now. Nobody will shoot you. Nobody will tackle you to the ground. Yet, you stay. In fact, you don't just stay. You run back to your cell, lock the door from the inside, and start working on the treadmill that powers the facility. You run until your lungs burn, until your feet bleed, and when you finally collapse, you don't blame the warden. You blame yourself. You tell yourself you just didn't hustle hard enough. You tell yourself you need to be faster to optimize your breathing. This isn't a dystopian nightmare. This is your life right now. Welcome to the ultimate trap of the modern world. We have built the most ingenious prison in human history, and we are incredibly proud of it. We call it freedom. We call it opportunity. We call it the grind. But beneath the shiny surface of endless possibilities, we are bleeding out. We are a society of exhausted, hollowed-out ghosts, running on a hamster wheel we built with our own 2 hands. We are not free. We are just slaves who have been tricked into holding our own whips. This is the story of how we became our own worst tyrants, and how the relentless pursuit of becoming the best version of ourselves is actually destroying us. Let me tell you about Kale. He lives in the city of glass, a place that looks exactly like our world, just pushed 1 inch further into the future. Kale is a winner. He is a hustler. He is the CEO of his own existence, and he is dying inside. Let's look closer at Kale. He wakes up at 4 a.m., not because a dictator ordered him to, but because his smartwatch vibrated, reminding him that billionaires wake up at 4 a.m. He drinks a green sludge engineered to maximize his cognitive output. He stares at his reflection in the mirror, flexing his perfectly sculpted muscles. He is a machine of pure potential, but look into his eyes. There is no spark. There is no joy. There is only a frantic, vibrating panic. The panic of a man who knows that if he stops running for even 1 single second, he will lose his value. He will become obsolete. He will become a loser. And in the city of glass, being a loser is the only crime punishable by social death. Kale believes he is the master of his destiny, but he is about to discover the darkest secret of his world. A secret that reveals why everyone is smiling, but nobody is happy, and why we are all so incurably exhausted. Oh, to understand Kale's invisible prison, we have to look at the history of the city of glass. Generations ago, Kale's ancestors lived in the era of iron. The era of iron was brutal. It was ruled by overseers who held the whips and shouted commands. You should work, you should obey, you should not ask questions. This was the society of should. It was a world of strict rules, harsh punishments, and literal walls. If you didn't do what you were told, you were thrown into a dark hole. The people of the era of iron were oppressed, yes, but they had one distinct advantage over Kyle. They knew exactly who their enemy was. When they were exhausted, they knew who to blame. They could rebel. They could sabotage the machines. They could dream of a day when the overseers would be overthrown. And eventually, they were. The era of iron fell. The walls were torn down. The overseers were banished. The people celebrated their ultimate liberation. They built the city of glass, a paradise of boundless opportunity. The motto shifted from you should to you can. You can achieve anything. You can build your own empire and optimize your life. There are no limits. There are no rules. There is only your own potential waiting to be unlocked. It sounded like a utopia. But it was a trap. A brilliant, insidious psychological trap. Because when you remove the overseer, the work doesn't stop. The pressure doesn't vanish. It just changes shape. The external dictator was replaced by an internal one. Kale doesn't have a boss yelling at him. He has a voice in his head whispering, "You can do more. If you fail, it's nobody's fault but your own." The society of should created rebels and madmen. The society of can creates depressives and losers. Kale is terrified of being a loser. So, he works harder than any slave in the era of iron ever did. He voluntarily exploits himself. He carries a labor camp inside his own mind. He is the prisoner, sweating in the dark, and he is the sadistic guard, screaming for more output. And because he is both, he can never escape. You cannot run away from your own mind. You cannot overthrow a dictator that lives in your own psychology. This is the genius of the City of Glass. It weaponized freedom. It turned liberation into the ultimate engine of exploitation. Let's watch Kale work. He sits at his sleek minimalist desk. He is a master of the modern grind. He is never doing just one thing. That would be inefficient. That would be a waste of his limitless potential. Right now, Kale is answering emails, listening to a biohacking podcast at double speed, monitoring crypto and drafting a proposal. He is a blur of motion. He calls it productivity. He calls it being a high performer. But if you look closely at his brainwaves, you won't see the smooth, deep currents of a genius at work. You will see the frantic, jagged spikes of a hunted animal. Kyle has lost the ability to focus. Truly focus. He suffers from a condition that plagues everyone in the City of Glass. Hyperattention. It is a scattered, nervous, superficial state of awareness. He is constantly scanning for new stimuli. A notification pings. He reacts. A trend shifts. He reacts. He is a pinball bouncing endlessly between flashing lights. He thinks this makes him advanced. He thinks this makes him a superior human being. But the truth is far darker. This hyperattention is not an evolution. It is a regression. It is the exact same state of mind as a wild animal in the jungle. A deer drinking from a stream must constantly twitch its ears, scan the bushes for predators, watch its offspring, and look for its herd. The deer is a perfect multitasker, but the deer cannot build a cathedral. The deer cannot write a symphony. The deer cannot invent a new philosophy. Deep, profound creation requires deep, profound attention. It requires the ability to sink into a single thought, to drown out the noise of the world, and to sit in absolute stillness. It requires contemplation. But the City of Glass hates contemplation. Contemplation doesn't produce immediate capital. Contemplation doesn't generate data. So, the city floods Kale with a tsunami of excess positivity. Too much information, too many impulses, too many choices. His mind is constantly overfed and undernourished. He is incapable of producing anything truly original. He just recycles, repackages, and accelerates what already exists. He is a highly efficient cog in a machine that produces nothing but noise. And the noise is deafening. It drowns out his own soul. It drowns out his humanity. He is proud of his multitasking, completely unaware that he has traded his divine capacity for deep thought for the nervous twitching of a prey animal. Because Kale cannot connect with anything deep or profound in the world, he turns his gaze inward. He becomes obsessed with the only thing he feels he can truly control: himself. The City of Glass is a lonely place. There are millions of people, but there is no community. Friendships are networking opportunities. Romances are transactional exchanges of value. Everyone is a brand. Everyone is a product on display. And Kyle is the CEO of the enterprise called Kyle. His ego is inflated to the point of bursting, yet it is incredibly fragile. He is trapped in a hall of mirrors, constantly looking at his own reflection, constantly measuring his own worth against the curated illusions of others. This extreme individualism breeds a toxic, suffocating narcissism. Kale doesn't contribute to a greater cause. There is no greater cause. God is dead. Grand narratives are dead. Philosophy is dead. All that is left is the biological machine, the physical body. And so, Kale worships at the altar of his own flesh. His health has become his new religion. He tracks his sleep cycles with religious fervor. He measures his macronutrients down to the microgram. He subjects himself to ice baths, red light therapy, and grueling workouts. He sculpts his body into a flawless statue of vitality. He looks like a Greek god, but it is an empty, hollow perfection. He is trying to maximize his capacity for survival, but he has forgotten how to live. The capitalist engine of the City of Glass has convinced him that more health equals more life. But mere biological functioning is not a life. A perfectly tuned engine is useless if the car has nowhere to go. Kyle is terrified of aging. He is terrified of weakness. He is terrified of death. So he builds a fortress of muscle and optimized blood markers around his fragile ego. He reduces the vast, beautiful, and tragic complexity of the human experience to a series of biometric data points. He is the healthiest, fittest, most optimized dead man walking. He is surviving with maximum efficiency, but his soul is starving. He is a beautiful, shiny shell with absolutely nothing inside. The obsession with health is just another manifestation of the endless grind. It is just another metric to conquer. Another way to prove he is not a loser. But the mirror never lies. And when Kale looks deep into his own eyes, past the perfect skin and the bright white teeth, he sees the void. He sees the terrifying emptiness of a life dedicated entirely to the self. And then the inevitable happens. The crash, the system failure, the burnout. It doesn't happen all at once. It creeps up on Kyle like a slow-acting poison. At first, it's just a lingering tiredness that no amount of optimized sleep can cure. Then, it's a heavy, suffocating apathy. The things that used to motivate him, the money, the status, the metrics, suddenly feel like ashes in his mouth. He sits at his desk, staring at his 5 screens, and his hands refuse to move. His brain feels like it is packed with wet sand. The internal guard is still screaming at him. Get up, hustle, grind, you're falling behind. You're becoming a loser. But the internal prisoner has finally collapsed. The prisoner cannot take another step. This is not just physical exhaustion. This is a profound spiritual shattering. Kale is at war with himself, and both sides have lost. He has exploited his own mind and body to the absolute limit, and now there is nothing left to extract. He is a hollowed-out mine. The City of Glass calls this depression. They treat it as a chemical imbalance, a personal failure, a glitch in Kale's hardware that needs to be fixed with pills and therapy so he can get back on the treadmill. But it is not a glitch. It is the logical, unavoidable conclusion of the achievement society. Burnout is the sound of a soul snapping under the weight of infinite expectations. Kale lies on his floor, staring at the ceiling. He is paralyzed. He is entirely incapable of stepping outside himself, of relying on others, of finding comfort in the world. He has locked his jaws on his own tail and devoured himself. The tragedy of Kale is that he did everything right. He followed all the rules of the new world. He embraced the positivity of Khan. He became his own master, and his reward is a total collapse of his being. He is drowning in a sea of excess positivity. He is choking on his own limitless potential. The freedom he was promised was just a longer rope with which to hang himself. As he lies there, broken and empty, the screens around him continue to flash. The notifications continue to ping. The City of Glass hums with relentless, terrifying energy. It does not care that Kale has fallen. It will simply step over him and find a new grinder, a new hustler, a new willing victim to feed into the engine. Kale realizes, with a cold, horrifying clarity, that he was never a master. He was always a battery. And now, his charge is depleted. The illusion shatters. The invisible walls of his prison suddenly become visible. He sees the bars made of ambition. He sees the chains made of self-optimization. He sees the lock made of his own ego. He is trapped, and he is the one who threw away the key. He tries to remember a time before the grind, a time when he just existed. But the memories are fragmented, corrupted by the constant need to document, to share, to monetize every waking moment. Even his childhood feels like a prequel to his career. The burnout is absolute. It is a dark, heavy blanket that smothers the last remaining sparks of his vitality. He is a casualty of a war where no bullets were fired, a war fought entirely in the trenches of the human psyche. The Achievement Society has claimed another victim, leaving behind nothing but a perfectly healthy, aesthetically pleasing corpse. Is there a way out? Is there an escape from the city of glass? The answer is not a new life hack. It is not a new morning routine. It is not a retreat to a mountain ashram where you pay $10,000 to meditate while posting pictures of your enlightenment. The answer is something far more radical, something that terrifies the Achievement Society to its very core. The answer is the embrace of negativity. The answer is the courage to stop. Imagine Kyle lying on the floor. Instead of fighting the exhaustion, instead of hating himself for his failure, he simply surrenders. He reaches up and unplugs the screens. He turns off the phone. He lets the silence rush into the room like a tidal wave. At first, the silence is agonizing. His hyper-attentive brain screams for a dopamine hit. It begs for a notification. It panics in the face of absolute boredom. But Kyle doesn't move. He endures the withdrawal. He sits in the empty room and does absolutely nothing. He is not resting so he can work harder tomorrow. He is not taking a break to optimize his recovery. He is just stopping. He is reclaiming his right to be useless. This is the ultimate act of rebellion in the modern world. To embrace the negativity of boredom, of waiting, of profound idleness. To protect your mind from the endless bombardment of stimuli. To step off the treadmill and refuse to run. We must rediscover the contemplative life. We must learn to look at a tree without calculating its lumber value. We must learn to sit with a friend without networking. We must learn to exist without achieving. The prison doors are open, they always have been. But to walk out, you have to leave your ego behind. You have to accept that you are not a machine of limitless potential. You are a human being, fragile, flawed, and finite. And that is not a weakness. That is your salvation. The next time you feel the urge to grind, the next time the internal guard raises the whip, I want you to do something revolutionary. I want you to stop, stare at a blank wall. Let the boredom wash over you. Let the silence heal your fractured mind. Stop trying to survive. And finally, for the first time in your life, allow yourself to live. The world doesn't need another optimized hustler. It needs you to wake up. Thank you for watching,